Hello dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Navdeep Saini, Assistant Professor, Khalsa College of Education, Ranjit Avenue, Amritsar. Today we will discuss about the topic Program Evaluation. The objectives of teaching this topic are to study various purposes of program evaluation, to learn about the benchmarks of credible evaluation, to learn about the role of stakeholders in different programs, and to explain the concept of program evaluation. First of all, let us try to understand the meaning of the terms program and evaluation. The term program may include any organized actions such as educational services, public policies, research projects and media campaigns, etc. And by evaluation we mean the systematic application of scientific methods to assess the design, implementation, improvement or outcomes of a program. Thus, it can be said that program evaluation has come into being as both a formal educational activity and as a frequently mandated instrument of public policy. It involves collecting, analyzing and using information to answer questions about programs and satisfy the needs of the stakeholders who often want to know whether the programs they are funding, implementing, voting for, receiving or objecting to are producing the intended effect. Program evaluation can involve both quantitative and qualitative methods of social research. And the people who do program evaluation come from many different backgrounds such as sociology, psychology, economics, social work and public policy. Talking about program evaluation in reference to the education system, it consists of those activities which are undertaken to judge the worth or utility of a program in improving some specified aspect of an education system. Evaluations may be conducted for programs of any size or scope ranging from an arithmetic program in a particular school to an international consortium on metric education. Examples of program evaluation might include evaluation of a national bilingual education program, a university's pre-service program for training urban administrators, a Ministry of Education's staff development program or a local parent education resource center. Now, when we have understood the program what evaluation is, it is essential to look into some important points that need consideration when designing a program evaluation. Firstly, identify the purpose of the evaluation being done, that is, what do you want to be able to decide as a result of the evaluation. Secondly, what kinds of information are needed to make the decision you need to make to enlighten your intended audiences. And thirdly, identify from what sources the information should be collected. Thereafter, you need to identify the feasible ways in which that information can be collected, for example, through questionnaires, interviews, examining documentation, observing customers or employees, conducting focus groups among customers or employees, etc. Next thing to be considered is when is this information needed for use. And lastly, it is required to identify the available resources for collecting the information. Moving on, let us now talk about the various purposes of program evaluation. Most program evaluators agree that program evaluation can serve either a formative purpose by helping to improve the program or a summative purpose by deciding whether a problem should continue or not. In the light of this, the main purposes of program evaluation are to demonstrate program effectiveness to the funders, to contribute to the decisions about program installation, to contribute to the decisions about program continuation, expansion or certification, to contribute to decisions about program modifications, to contribute to the understanding of basic psychological, social and other processes, to improve the implementation and effectiveness of programs, to manage limited resources in a better way, to document the program accomplishments, to justify the current program funding, to support the need for increased levels of funding, to satisfy ethical responsibility to clients to demonstrate positive and negative effects of program participation, to document program development and activities to ensure successful replication at a later stage. The next important and essential task is to ascertain the reliability, validity and sensitivity of the program evaluation. It is important to ensure that the instruments used in program evaluation are as reliable, valid and sensitive as possible. Only if the outcome measures are valid, reliable and appropriately sensitive, the impact of the assessment can be regarded as credible. Let us take a closer look into the meaning and importance of each of these factors one by one. The first one is the reliability of the program. It is the extent to which the measure produces the same results when used repeatedly to measure the same thing. The more reliable a measure is, the greater is its statistical power and the more credible its findings are. If a measuring instrument is unreliable, it may dilute or obscure the real effects of a program and the program will appear to be less effective than it actually is. Hence, it is important to ensure that the evaluation is as reliable as possible. The next main factor is the validity of the program. The validity of a measurement instrument is the extent to which it measures what it is intended to measure. Generally, while making evaluations, an instrument may be considered valid if accepted so by the stakeholders, for example, the people who are funding the program administrators, etc. Next comes the factor of sensitivity. The principal purpose of the evaluation process is to measure whether the program has an effect on the social problem it seeks to redress. Hence, the measurement instrument must be sensitive enough to discern these potential changes. So, students, we just saw that only measures which adequately achieve the benchmarks of reliability, validity and sensitivity can be said to be credible evaluations. It is the duty of evaluators to produce credible evaluations as their findings may have far-reaching effects. Why do you think is it important for an evaluation to be credible? Well, a discreditable evaluation which is unable to show that a program is achieving its purpose even when it is in fact creating a positive change may cause the program to lose its funding unnecessarily. Let us now move on to the process of planning a program evaluation. As you can see from the given flow chart, the process of planning program evaluation can be divided into 4 parts. Focusing on the evaluation, collecting the requisite information, using the collected information and managing the evaluation. So, students, now it may be clear to you that program evaluation involves reflecting on the purpose of evaluation, necessary questions to be asked and prospective usage of the information gathered. The choice of the evaluator chosen to evaluate the program may be regarded as important as the process of the evaluation. There may be 2 kinds of evaluators, namely the internal evaluator and the external evaluator. Internal evaluators are those who are associated with the program to be executed, and the external evaluators are those who are not associated with any part of the execution or implementation of the program. Now, it becomes essential to study the advantages and limitations of both kinds so to make a wise choice. The advantages of choosing an internal evaluator are that he may have better overall knowledge of the program and possess informal knowledge as well about the program, that he may seem less threatening as he is already familiar with the other staff involved, that he is not much costly to appoint. Looking into the disadvantages, it may happen that he is less objective in his observation, he is more preoccupied with other activities of the program and does not give full attention to the evaluation, and he is not adequately trained as an evaluator. The advantages of appointing external evaluator over the internal are, He may be more objective about the process, offering new perspectives and different angles to observe and critique the process. He may be able to dedicate greater amount of time and attention to the evaluation, and he may have greater expertise for the task. However, it may be disadvantageous to appoint him because of the higher cost and requirement for more time for the contract, monitoring, negotiations, etc. Also, he may be unfamiliar with program staff and create anxiety about being an evaluator. And he may also be unfamiliar with organization policies or certain constraints affecting the program. Now, we shall describe the three broad paradigms available for the program evaluation. The first and probably most common is the positivist approach, in which evaluation can only occur where there are objective, observable and measurable aspects of a program requiring predominantly quantitative evidence. The positivist approach includes evaluation dimensions such as needs assessment, assessment of program theory, assessment of program process, impact assessment and efficiency assessment. The second paradigm identified is the interpretive approach, where it is argued that it is essential that the evaluator develops an understanding of the perspective, experiences and expectations of all the stakeholders. This would lead to a better understanding of the various meanings and needs held by stakeholders, which is crucial before one is able to make judgments about the merit or value of a program. The evaluator's contact with the program is often over an extended period of time, and although there is no standardized method, observation, interviews and focus groups are commonly used. The next paradigm that has been identified is the critical emancipatory approach to program evaluation. It is largely based on action research for the purpose of social transformation. This type of approach is much more ideological and often includes a greater degree of social activism on the part of the evaluator. It would be appropriate to use it for qualitative and participative evaluations. Because of its critical focus on societal power structures and its emphasis on participation and empowerment, this type of evaluation can be particularly useful in developing countries. Now we shall discuss about the different types of program evaluation. The first type is process evaluation, also called implementation evaluation. It is the most frequently used type of evaluation. It reviews how a program is implemented and focuses on how a program actually operates. Process evaluation can be beneficial throughout the life of a program. However, they are often used when a program is implemented to ensure compliance with statutory and regulatory requirements, program design requirements and professional standards and customer expectations. The second type is the outcome evaluation. As the name implies, it assesses the program outcomes. Outcomes can be immediate effects of a program or more distal. In general, the closer an outcome is to the program outputs, the clearer is the linkage between the two. That is, outcomes measured immediately after outputs are generated are less likely to be affected by outside factors that can cloud the relationship between outputs and outcomes. The third type of evaluation we have is the impact evaluation. This is designed to measure net effect of a program by comparing actual program results with counterfactual data. Excluding or potential causes of an outcome can be difficult and expensive proposition. Because of their cost and required expertise and often the need to plan the evaluation during initial program design rather than after program implementation, impact evaluations are not common. Although impact evaluations should be planned during program startup, they should not be undertaken until program operations are mature so that the true effect of the fully implemented program can be assessed. So students, we have seen here that all program evaluations share common traits of rigorous planning, careful execution, thoughtful analysis, and thorough reporting. Let us now learn how to devise a framework for program evaluation. The framework that we are going to describe here is a practical, non-prescriptive tool that summarizes in a logical order the important elements of program evaluation. The framework contains two related dimensions. Number 1, steps in evaluation practice, and number 2, standards for good evaluation. As you can see in the given flowchart, there are 6 connected steps of the framework, the actions that should be part of any evaluation. First of all, engage the stakeholders so that they feel a good deal of ownership for the evaluation process and results. Stakeholders are people or organizations that have something to gain or lose from what will be learned from an evaluation and also in what will be done with that knowledge. When stakeholders are not appropriately involved, evaluation findings are likely to be ignored, criticized, or resisted. Secondly, describe the program explaining what it is trying to accomplish and how it tries to bring about those changes. The description will also illustrate the program's core components and elements, its ability to make changes, its stage of development, and how the program fits into the larger organizational and community environment. Next step is to focus the evaluation design, that is planning in advance about where the evaluation is headed and what steps it will take to get there. A well-focused plan is a safeguard against using time and resources inefficiently. After this step, gather credible evidence that strengthens the evaluation results as well as the recommendations that follows them. The information learned should be seen by stakeholders as believable, trustworthy, and relevant to answer their questions. This requires thinking broadly about what counts as evidence. Such decisions are always situational. They depend on the question being posed and the motives for asking it. Next step is to justify conclusions by linking to the evidence gathered and judged against agreed upon values set by the stakeholders. The process of justifying conclusions recognizes that evidence in any evaluation does not necessarily speak for itself. Evidence must be carefully considered from a number of different stakeholders' perspectives to reach conclusions that are well justified. Lastly, it should be ensured that the evaluation findings will be used appropriately. Preparing for their use involves strategic thinking and continued vigilance in looking for opportunities to communicate and influence. Thus, we see that all these steps are intended to serve as starting points around which community organizations can tailor an evaluation to best meet their needs. The next part of the framework is a basic set of standards to assess the quality of evaluation activities. There are 30 specific standards organized into the following 4 groups: utility, feasibility, propriety, and accuracy. The utility standards further consist of identification of stakeholders so that their needs can be addressed, evaluating the credibility of the people conducting the evaluation so that the evaluation will be generally accepted as credible or believable, selecting such information that addresses the pertinent questions about the program and is responsive to the needs and interests of clients and other specified stakeholders, describing carefully the perspectives, procedures, and rationale used to interpret the findings so that the basis for judgments about merit and value are clear. Writing the evaluation reports clearly, describing the program being evaluated, including its context and the purposes, procedures, and findings of the evaluation. This will help to ensure that essential information is provided and easily understood. Sharing of significant mid-course findings and evaluation reports with intended users so that they can be used in a timely fashion. And lastly, planning, conducting, and reporting evaluations in ways that encourage follow-up through stakeholders, so that the evaluation will be used effectively in future. After the utility standards comes the feasibility standards that ensure that the evaluation makes sense, that is, all the steps that are planned are both viable and pragmatic. The feasibility standards include making the evaluation procedures practical to keep disruption of everyday activities to a minimum while needed information is obtained. Planning and conducting the evaluation with anticipation of the different positions or interests of various groups. This should help in obtaining their cooperation so that possible attempts by these groups to curtail evaluation operations or to misuse the results can be avoided. Lastly, making the evaluation more cost effective and efficient enough to produce valuable information for the justified use of the available resources. Moving ahead, let's discuss about the proprietary standards. These ensure that the evaluation is an ethical one conducted with regards for the rights and interests of those involved. Proprietary standards consist of designing the evaluation to help organizations serve the needs of all of the targeted participants, drafting formal agreements in writing describing the responsibilities in the evaluation so that those involved are obligated to follow all conditions of the agreement, designing and conducting the evaluation to respect and protect the rights and welfare of all participants in the study, conducting the evaluation fairly and recording both strengths and weaknesses of the program being evaluated, ensuring that all of the evaluation findings along with the limitations of the evaluation are accessible to everyone affected by the evaluation and any other who has expressed legal rights to receive the results. The last type of set of standards for good evaluation are categorized as accuracy standards. These ensure that the evaluation findings are considered correct. The accuracy standards consist of documenting description of the program in clear and accurate terms, analyzing the context in which the program exists to identify the things that are likely to influence the program, analyzing the quantitative and qualitative information, that is the data collected from observations, surveys or interviews in an appropriate and systematic way so that the evaluation questions are effectively answered. And finally, reporting impartially without any personal feelings and biases of people involved in the evaluation so that the report fairly reflects the evaluation findings. Well students, after studying all the aspects involved in a program evaluation, we may infer that evaluation is a powerful strategy for distinguishing programs and interventions that make a difference from those that don't. It is a driving force for developing and adapting sound strategies, improving existing programs and demonstrating the results of investments in time and other resources. It also helps to determine whether that is being done is worth its cost or not. The recommended framework for program evaluation is both a synthesis of existing best practices and a set of standards for further improvement. It supports a practical approach to evaluation based on steps and standards that can be applied in almost any setting. Since the framework is purposefully made general in nature, it provides a stable guide to design and conduct a wide range of evaluation efforts in a variety of specific program areas. Thus, the framework can be used as a template to create useful evaluation plans to contribute to understanding and improvement. Thank you.